Hey guys, I wanted to show you my process of making custom sleeved cables from scratch. Before I show you the steps I take, let's see what we are going to need. The most important thing is the wire. Either 16 gauge or 18 gauge. The smaller the number is, the larger is the diameter. 18 gauge is standard and 16 gauge are thicker cables that are fit for more powerful processors and graphics cards. We will also need crimping pliers, a sharp knife, some wire cutters, Heatshrinks in multiple sizes. You will have to do some soldering and one heatshrink size won't fit it all. Then some lighter with additional gas because you will be burning through a lot of it. Then some terminals with longer foots. They fit the 16 gauge cables better. Then the 5557 connectors, depending on your power supply, because some PSUs use GPU connectors on both sides, like Seasonic, while Corsair uses the PCIe/CPU connector on the power supply side. Then the cable sleeving in the color of your choice, 3 mm diameter for 18 gauge and 4 mm for 16 gauge. Lastly, as optional bonus, some cable comps. Different power supplies use different combination of the two connectors. These ones are for Corsair Type 3 PSUs, the 10-pin and 14-pin for motherboard, for example. This is the typical GPU connector. You can tell by these two joint connectors. Some Seasonic power supplies use them on the PSU side too. This is the typical CPU connector. It's also used on the PSU side to connect CPU and GPU cables. Now I'm gonna show you detailed process how I'm making the cables. You take the cable that you have cut for your desired length and strip the end, roughly 2 mm. The sharp knife really helps to not damage the cable by not having to apply too much pressure. Then you put on the terminal, bend the feet so that it holds on the cable and so that it goes easier in the crimping pliers. Crimp the terminal just right behind those two tiny legs sticking out. I usually push the pliers to the very end. Then I take the sleeving, burn the end a little bit so that it doesn't fray, and slowly sleeve the cable. I only have the 3 mm sleeving, so it barely goes on the 16 gauge cable, making the process quite slower. 4 mm sleeving would make the process quicker, but it wouldn't be such a nice tight fit. After pulling the sleeving to the one end, come back to the second end and cut the sleeving just at the end of the cable. Squish the end, put on the heat shrink, place it at the end just before the two tiny feet, and use the lighter to slowly cook the sleeving under the heat shrink. Without the heat shrink, the sleeving tends to just burn to some unwanted form. Then you can take the cutters and pull the heat shrink. Depending on your timing, the sleeving can still be too hot and pull with the heat shrink. So instead, you can just wait a bit longer and take the knife to carefully cut the heat shrink. Pinch it with the nail and strip away. You then come back to the other end of the cable, pull back the sleeving, strip the end of the wire, put on the terminal, crimp it, pull the sleeving back to the end, put on the heat shrink, and burn it with the lighter. Sometimes you will have more than enough of the sleeving, so you can just cut the excess. After a while, you will have a bunch of sleeved cables made to your desired length. Some of the most popular power supplies have a pinout diagram that you can Google. This is Corsair's Type 3. Red pins are double wire output and yellow pins are double wire input. I've mentioned at the beginning that you will have to do some soldering. It's much safer than trying to crimp two connectors into one terminal. Not only they won't fit into the 5557 connector as they are, but if you try to cut them down a little bit and then crimp them so that they fit better, they might not hold properly. After soldering the wires properly, you are going to put on some heat shrinks to cover most of the exposed wire. I usually use multiple sizes of heat shrinks to layer them on. It doesn't look very attractive, but this is the end on the power supplies side, so it will usually be hidden. Instead of soldering, you could use the crimping like this on the image that I found. Thanks for watching. Leave the comment if you have some question, and all links will be in the description.